And now, the world's most watched professional wrestling news program, the Pro Wrestling Report.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the world's most watched professional wrestling news program, the Pro Wrestling Report. Michael Hayes, suspended from WWE. WWE goes presidential. And we go in depth on this Sunday's WWE pay-per-view, Backlash. Good evening. I'm Dameon Nelson.
I'm Frank Cosentino. Let's get right to tonight's top story.
And tonight's top story, Frank, is an interesting one to say the least. The head of WWE writing for SmackDown and at times ECW, Michael P.S. Hayes, has been suspended. Let's talk about why. Allegedly, there was an incident against Mark Henry during WrestleMania weekend where he allegedly, Michael Hayes, used a racial slur against Mark Henry. Frank, that slur alleged to be to Mark Henry while under a state of influence, alcohol rather, "I'm more of a blank than you are," as a joke. Mark Henry apparently taking offense to this comment, bringing it to the attention of WWE management, who secretly suspended Michael Hayes for a period of 60 days. Initially, it was stated that Michael Hayes was simply on vacation. However, it has now been discovered that he has indeed been suspended by WWE for 60 days. Reports indicate based on this incident alone. Frank, this is a big deal for Mark Henry, obviously, as he brought it up to the attention of WWE management. This is a larger issue, a global issue, if you will. Michael Hayes making this an appropriate comment to Mark Henry. This happening during WrestleMania, this happening while Michael Hayes apparently under the influence of alcohol. Frank, this has escalated at least into a suspension by Michael Hayes by WWE. It's said that this also escalated into a physical confrontation at the time of the incident that had to be broken apart. Did WWE react properly to the allegations made by Mark Henry?
Absolutely. Right off the bat, anytime, whether they're under the influence of alcohol or not, using any kind of racial slur is just not acceptable in any society. The WWE reacted the way that they should, which was suspend Michael Hayes. Now it's up to Michael Hayes to apologize. It's the only way that he can get out of this, and then with time, and then do what other people have done that have made this mistake, basically out of stupidity, and just apologize and do what needs to be done within do things the right way. Now you can use the alcohol as something, well, it just happened, I shouldn't have done it, but just apologize. It's the easy way, it's the best way, it's the only way for Michael Hayes to handle this. WWE handled this correctly.
And here are the things we don't know. We don't know the existing relationship that may or may not have been there between Mark Henry and Michael Hayes. We don't know how much of a joke it was. We don't know the context in which it was said. What I can tell you is it's not a comment that, quite frankly, is not out of line between myself and friends of mine. I mean, it's all about interpretation at times. It's all about context at times. And it's all about the nature in which the comment was made. Now, Mark Henry clearly taking offense to it. And I wonder if it had not graduated to a physical confrontation, had anything really been said. Now, reports indicate that Mark Henry did specifically approach WWE management, specifically Stephanie McMahon, in which action was taken as a result of the comment, not necessarily the result of the confrontation. Mark Henry clearly not punished. However, I don't believe he should have been, of course, but not punished. Michael Hayes, 60 days gone, Frank. Long-term impact of this move by WWE, one of their top positions, gone for 60 days, and when they come back, what's it going to mean for Mark Henry, who's on SmackDown?
Yeah, that you have to look at it from different angles. From a business sense, hopefully the WWE has the writing staff and the experience to overcome this. However, from Mark Henry's standpoint, it's just not good either way. Here's a guy that just is stuck. He has a great contract, signed one of the largest ones at the time, something like $2 or $3 million, I believe, at the time. So I think financially he's fine if he did everything correct. But either way, it's just not right to to hear something like this, and then from Mark Henry's standpoint, how do you react to it? Now, if you remember, and obviously it was a little bit different, on the Golf Channel, there was a correspondent or an anchor woman that had made I guess it was a racial slur towards Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods right away said, not a big deal. She apologized and was suspended. In this case, we haven't heard yet Mark Henry say, not a big deal. He went right to management, which means to me that there was more to this that affected him more on a personal level. We can joke about it all we want. We've joked about it a few times.
On air and off.
But it's all on how it's constructed. But you also have to be very sensitive to that issue. So in this case, Mark Henry, unfortunately, is in a lose-lose situation. He goes to management and said, listen, this is what happened. Yeah, we got into a fight, allegedly. But, people now look at him, some could and say, oh, come on, Mark. Not a big deal. Well, it is. And it is to Mark. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's unfortunate it happened to him. Hopefully, like I mentioned, Michael Hayes apologizes and Mark Henry moves on. And is able to move on where he's, more respected. He could take advantage of this as far as maybe moving himself up into the title category if he wants. Whether that's the right way to do it or not, he could do that. But we'll see what happens.
And this all happening at the same time where there are reports alleging where there are reports alleging that WWE has made a conscious effort to increase the number of African-American superstars that they have. You've seen Kofi Kingston come in. Some say that's the reason Crime Time was brought back. Big Daddy V, of course, still around, obviously now taking a little bit of time off. Shelton Benjamin getting a big play over on ECW. And really the list is long and long. And we can't confirm whether or not that was a real conscious effort by WWE or not. What we can confirm is that Michael Hayes suspended for 60 days as a result of this comment and the subsequent physical altercation. But Frank, let's move on to the next story, which is that WWE goes presidential. And this past Monday night on Raw, it was a 3-hour special where we saw a King of the Ring crown, King of the Ring Steven Regal. We talked about that in depth, did Meathead and I on 2-Minute Drill just yesterday right here on PWRshow.com. But Frank, let's talk about the presidential spin, if you will. It was real candidates appearing on Raw, John McCain, Hillary Clinton, and Barack Obama. This the first time, Frank, we believe that presidential hopefuls have reached out to professional wrestling fans.
There's a demographic there that that these candidates need because it's very close, obviously on the Democratic side, as far as getting those votes. So you've got to reach out to all of your audience, and once you hit 18 years old, and that's pretty much the middle target that you're looking at. For wrestling, just maybe closer to the lower end, but they're voters. You've got to take advantage of this now, but to a point, you have to take advantage of it. You don't want to make a fool out of yourself and say, I've been watching wrestling for the longest time. You don't want to lie and make it a joke, and then people can read through that. But say, hey, I'm a fan. This is entertainment, and you've got to make it work. For the most part, they did okay. It wasn't anything special. The wrestling part, which we'll get into in a second, was funny. But I like that at least the WWE made it fair and had them all three on. I would like to see this happen again, right towards, especially depending on what state they're in at the time, if they're in October or through the summer when there are debates going on. I'm sure WWE will take advantage of it. It all depends, and it looks like it could be Barack Obama versus John McCain for the nomination, and it's going to be dragged on all summer long. WWE could take advantage of this, although John McCain is not a guy that you can really just take, he's not Bill Clinton, where you can have a little fun with it.
I did not.
But I was glad that they had all three candidates on. That was good.
And once, when this was announced by WWE, we really did not know what they were going to do with it. It was going to be a in-ring battle between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, and quite frankly, something happening between that announced event and the actual event where all three candidates really did appear. And as Frank said, this is substantial for them for various reasons. They do have a great audience they can reach out to. WWE did not at all, in any way, shape, or form, endorse any candidate. They gave everybody equal time. They simply kept a class act as it pertained to the actual candidates and their appearances. And they really gave a little more credibility to their SmackDown Your Vote campaign. We have seen WWE for the last several elections really get out there in front of the fans and partner with other organizations to encourage young people to register to vote, no matter who the candidate. That is certainly something that is admirable by WWE. Now, WWE could have taken the high road. We speculated on PWR Interactive, did Meathead and I last week, what WWE would do with the actual in-ring action once we found out that all three candidates would appear in pre-taped segments on WWE Raw. They could have taken the high road, or they could have really just made a laughing stock of themselves as a viable venue for candidates to reach out to potential voters. Frank, I think they really actually did a very good job with their in-ring event between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to watch. Because you got to take advantage of it.
Exactly.
This is what's on people's mind. It's a very important election this year. And many of you that can vote, that are watching this program, that live in the United States.
Specifically Indiana and North Kakalaki, because it is North Kakalaki and South Carolina, right? I get them confused.
That's right.
I'm sure.
It's very important. Get out there and vote if you're 18 and can. And if you can't, and you want to voice your opinion, and maybe you've got brother or sister-in-law or whatever, and you say, you know what, we need to have, most likely, at least I think, will be Barack Obama. I want him to win, or I need McCain to win. It's big. This is huge, because the next 4 years are going to be very, very important to what happens in our lives here and overseas, and gas prices and everything else. So get out there and vote. This audience, it's 3 million people that are watching this, and I would have to just speculate that maybe a third of it can vote.
18 to 34 is the largest demographic of that 3 million. We can get specifics, but we don't have them available this week. But yes, they certainly are reaching a huge audience.
Number. And I liked how it was fair. The wrestling was fun.
It was very, having the Bill Clinton impersonator there was a nice little bonus.
And he's done it before.
Exactly.
That guy's done it before.
Presidential box WrestleMania 10 always pops out in my head.
Kudos to whoever they found. Obviously, I think they both had to have some kind of wrestling background.
Both were wrestlers from the South, yes.
And it worked out well. I enjoyed it. It was funny. Bill Clinton thing was funny. I like how they had him mic the whole time.
I did not have inappropriate relations with that wrestler, Mr. Obama.
And then the only thing, with Umaga coming out.
But they had to, Frank.
They had to do something.
Because neither could win. It would serve as an endorsement of either one, and that would would be the joke that all the morning news shows would talk about as it pertained to WWE. But
I was thinking that a McCain guy would come out, look alike.
That actually.
But that's a hard part. That's the hard part, because not a lot of people know who John McCain is, because he's already won this thing months ago.
Oh, he's sitting back and letting the Democrats ruin it for themselves. To be honest with you, but
each other.
Be that as it may, I think WWE did a great job in an area where they typically do horrible. Remember Rosie and Donald Trump. They really did a great job and overall, and really gave themselves an opportunity to put themselves in the middle of this presidential debacle that is going on right now. So good job, WWE.
But did it equal to ratings? A little bit. WWE Raw 3.3 was up 0.1.
For the 2-hour period, I believe that number is
correct. Hour 1 was 2.4. Hour 2 was 3.3. Hour 3 was 3.4, and there's always that little overrun, which usually is in the 3.5 and up. TNA Impact was on par with last week, which was 1.0. WWE SmackDown is 2.2, which is down 0.3.
Significant decrease, almost 400,000 viewers.
That's a lot. And then ECW 1.2 was down 0.1. Now remember, you got to put into context these numbers, which they have figured out. Many people, DVR or TiVo, especially Raw, and they put a number out there which is between 200 and 400,000 people.
Yeah.
It's one of the most DVR'd or TiVo'd show out there on cable. So
and
you have to
that
put
in
that
addition,
in perspective.
And that in addition to pay-per-view viewers, because we always talk about buys and how could anything be successful with 250,000 buys. Well, most people come together as groups to watch pay-per-views, and a lot of people still come together as groups to watch Raw specifically, whether it be in bars or what have you. Think of Monday Night Football, whatnot. It's always an inflated number that actually happens based off what's reported because of the average household, I believe, has 2 to 4 viewers that's accounted for it within each rating, each television that is on for that show. So, and that is something that has been recently released. It's about 7.9%, I believe, for the first hour and about 8.6% for the second hour of people who actually are DVRing their Monday Night Wrestling. So that is a very interesting point, Frank. And then you could also take an interesting point when you look at TNA ratings, and if you wanted to Hillary Clintonize these rating numbers, you look at the 1.0 it got on Thursday night, and then you look at the 0.5 it got for the replay, and quite frankly, it beat ECW last week, and overall viewers did TNA Impact.
It did.
So that is the big battle that is ensuing, folks. When will TNA Impact initial airing overtake that of ECW, where you see those numbers getting closer and closer and closer? And quite frankly, Mike Adamle is not going to help things on behalf of ECW.
But they really need to step up. He needs to step up very quickly. He's going to turn off a lot of viewers there.
Your phone might be ringing soon, Frank. They might need a better play-by-play guy in a minute.
Yeah. I think Mike Adamle has a little bit on me.
Those are the ratings. Now let's talk about this Sunday's pay-per-view. It's WWE Backlash. Several matches, one of which is the 12 Diva Tag Team match. Women's Champion Mickie James, Maria, Ashley, Michelle McCool, Cherry, Kelly versus Beth Phoenix, Melina, Jillian, Layla, Victoria, and Natalia Neidhart. Now, Frank, the question is, this strikingly similar to the very heavy knockout-driven TNA Lockdown pay-per-view last month. Is WWE trying to say, hey, look, we have women's wrestling too?
Absolutely.
And if so, will they be successful in that right?
Well, that's the question, but they absolutely are taking what TNA had done and putting basically their whole entire roster from the women's side into this match. It's just... I don't know how this is going to work. You know, everyone's going to be, yay, we get to see puppies and stuff and all that. But then we want to see wrestling, and then some of these wrestlers aren't very good. And
some,
it's just too
most
many.
all of them aren't good.
It's too many. And generally, with a women's match, they shorten it. So some of these women are going to get maybe a minute of ring action.
And in many cases, that might be a minute too long.
I don't like it. Hopefully it'll be entertained at some point, but it's the eye candy again. That's what they're after.
In a match where it could be the first one, Frank, where we've seen a live chicken and a goat as part of the build-up, it will be the Big Show versus the Great Khali. Battle of the Big Men.
Yep.
This one seemingly a bit of a dud going into it.
Well, dud equals the Great Khali. The guy is just tall. He's big. He can't do much of anything else. He can scream a little bit. But this is the only guy he can match up with. You can't have the David Goliath thing because that just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. And unless they can find some other 6'6" and up guys out there, the Great Khali is basically pigeonholed. He's stuck. There's nothing for this guy to do. So unless you throw a belt on him for a while and have people chase it, that's the only thing that would make sense. But he just doesn't have the charisma that's out there. It's going to be pretty much a dud.
HBK versus Batista. Y2J, the special guest referee. This one, Batista upset because Shawn Michaels ending the career of an absent Ric Flair.
Yeah, obviously Chris Jericho is going to get involved in this thing via wrestling. He's going to do something. And eventually what may happen is this thing goes on another pay-per-view, or it'll be a three-way with Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, and Batista somehow. That's how I think it's going to happen. I kind of like the build up to it. It's a little bit different. So we'll see how this one shakes out. But Chris Jericho will get involved.
Will this be the point where Chris Jericho goes, as they say, heel? As a lot of people are speculating.
Why not? I think he'll be a tweener because there are people that just want to cheer from once that his music hits. But yeah, why not? Make him a heel.
Matt Hardy made his return at WrestleMania 24 with a run-in during the Money in the Bank ladder match. Well, he gets his first official pay-per-view match back with WWE at Backlash this Sunday as he goes up against MVP for the United States Championship. Frank, your thoughts?
Keep chasing the title for Matt Hardy. It just came back. I think it's unfair if they would give him the strap right away. So I would like to see this thing build up at least another pay-per-view. Should be solid, though. Both of these guys can wrestle well.
Chavo Guerrero gets a chance at his ECW championship back up against the Monster Kane.
I don't know about this one. Again, Kane is in the same mold as Big Show and Great Khali. It's going to be Eddie Guerrero, thank God. Chavo Guerrero running around the ring like crazy, trying to maybe chop down the tree, as they always say. You're going to hear that at least once against the knees of Kane. Kane should just squash him unless Chavo Guerrero uses some kind of humor into this thing and makes it entertaining. Otherwise, just face-to-face, it just will be a squash. So I just don't like how this one is shaping up.
It's a WrestleMania rematch as Edge goes up against the champion, the new World Heavyweight Champion, The Undertaker. The two had a great match at WrestleMania 24. Edge getting his shot now to retain that championship. Frank, your thoughts on this one of two main events for Backlash?
Yeah, this one should be just as well done as it was for WrestleMania. There should be no reason why Edge, one of the top wrestlers in all of WWE, Undertaker, obviously, he's, for what he can do, he's still got it. There should be no reason why Edge doesn't grab the belt at this point and take the World Heavyweight Championship.
In the main event on the Raw side of things, this one's unique as far as the rules goes. It's elimination style. A wrestler is eliminated from the contest by submission, pinfall, countout, or disqualification. The match continues until there is only one man left, and the participants are WWE Champion Randy Orton, JBL, Triple H, and John Cena. 4 men who worked their way into this main event on the Raws following WrestleMania 24. 3 of them were in the main event at WrestleMania 24. Will we see Randy Orton, the era of Orton, continue after Backlash and this very daunting challenge for a champion to beat 3 other men? Frank, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think he continued this reign. It makes sense. Although, right after WrestleMania, it was JBL who was the first wrestler to kind of come out, which kind of throws a little wrinkle into it. And to be honest, Triple H hasn't had the belt for a while. John Cena doesn't need the belt, in my opinion, right now. It's Randy Orton to keep, and he should keep this yet, I think, until SummerSlam.
Interesting. So you say Orton goes over in the match?
Yeah, I think Orton goes over, and it's just, as you've stated many times, you keep chasing the title. I don't think that Orton can keep it until next WrestleMania, but I think there's no reason why not to keep it on him until SummerSlam, easily, and that would be end of August or so.
That's WWE Backlash this Sunday on pay-per-view. Ladies and gentlemen, call your local cable operators to find out how you can watch it, or tune in to WWE.com, or more importantly, after Backlash goes off the air, myself and the man they call me and Head will have a live edition of PWR Interactive. As soon as the show goes off the air, we will have a live edition of PWR Interactive at pwrshow.com. We'll give you the results of WWE Backlash and our thoughts, and then we want you to call in as well, participate in the chat room, and give us a call to be a part of PWR Interactive Live.
Talking about live, you can hit these wrestling organizations live. We'll start with TNA on the 8th of May. They'll be in Barrie, Vermont. Yes. And then on the 9th, they'll be in Derby, Vermont. Live event on the 10th in Plattsburgh, New York. Then, June 8th, Slammiversary, Memphis, Tennessee, home of Elvis. Tickets go on sale today. So take advantage of that Slammiversary. This is basically TNA's one of their bigger ones, if not the big one, depending on how you want to put it. So if you live in the Memphis area or close to it, or have World Perks through Northwest, you can head over to Memphis.
And again, as Frank said, tickets for that event on sale right now, Ticketmaster.com. Expect this event to have even more fans in attendance than TNA Lockdown, which was TNA's attendance record as far as live events go.
The 9th of May, Ring of Honor heads to Manassas, Virginia. And then on the 10th, they will be in the city they named twice, New York, New York.
Tag team turmoil in Ring of Honor right now as one of the Briscoe brothers with a broken wrist out for surgery. And it looks like Austin Aries is going to step in to defend on May 10th that event. And Ring of Honor just leaving the Chicago area this past Saturday night for an event where we saw that injury take place.
Yep.
Let's go down to our weekly top
That's
three.
you.
And each week we pick our 3 top talents as it pertains to female wrestling and singles wrestling and tag team wrestling. And Frank, this week I'm going to go again with, on top, as far as singles go, the man, the one, the only, Petey Williams, the current X Division champion, who took it in a decisive manner against Jay Lethal last week on TNA Impact. The tag team spot, speaking of TNA, goes to the Latin American Exchange, who are kicking butt and ain't taking no names nowadays in TNA, the team of Homicide and the big man Hernandez. And of course, as far as ladies go, it's Mickie James this week. Again, more credibility being given to her WWE Women's Championship reign on Raw this past Monday night. Mickie, top woman in my book as it pertains to wrestling.
I'm also going to go with Mickie James as my top female wrestler right now. She's, I think, just as far as the women wrestling on Raw, doing a fantastic job. Keep that belt on her for a while. My tag team will go to Carlito and Santino Marella. Not much more we could say about that.
You just picked him because he's Italian, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Is it Italian or Italian? I'll tell you this.
I'll tell you that. Samoa Joe, as he continues to be the heavyweight champion over on TNA.
What did you think of that promo on Impact last Monday?
Yeah, it was interesting. With you're looking for a serious side from him, and you see it sometimes. Adding Kurt Angle in a suit, it's just
a poorly fitting suit, actually.
Yeah,
not tailored like
I
PBR
didn't. I just can't get used to that. But I think Samoa Joe is just, he's right there. You know, he's got all of that talent, and he's just starting to wear on you like, you know, a good jacket. So I think he's just doing a phenomenal job for TNA.
Coming next week, folks, we're going to add a new segment here to PWR News, Viewer Mail. We want your emails. You can send them to us at comments@pwrshow.com. Again, that's comments@pwrshow.com. Send us your email, your question, your comment, your concern. We will address them here on PWR News each and every week. Again, that's comments@pwrshow.com. Speaking of pwrshow.com, a couple of changes going on, enhancements rather, as you now see the link for headlines with 2 trusted sources of PWR for all the latest professional wrestling news available on the site. Also, episode 1 now available in black and white, Frank.
Well, how about that?
Not sure why, but not available at pwrshow.com. See how it all began on March 18, 1998. The Pro Wrestling Report at pwrshow.com. And also, PWR Interactive is now available on iTunes. So search for PWR on iTunes and take PWR on the road with you on your iPod. And lest we not forget, the PWR shop is open again with all new merchandise available at pwrshow.com. Frank, it's been a wild week. Given PWR Interactive Backlash this Sunday, episode 1 on the web. Headlines now available on the site. It just keeps on happening.
Keeps on getting
and folks, we thank you
better.
for tuning in. Make sure you tune into 2 Minute Drill. If you haven't watched it already, it's available at pwrshow.com along with myself and the man they call Meathead. Frank will be traveling next week, so
yes,
Meathead will be sitting in that chair here on PWR News. And in the meantime and in between time, we thank you for tuning in, and we will see you coming up next excuse me, this Sunday night. I'm all choked up over Backlash this Sunday night. PWR Interactive Live immediately following the show. Thanks for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen.